Some people claim that Jesus never existed, that he was just a myth, a made-up story by Christians. But what if I told you that the very people who rejected him, Roman officials, Jewish leaders, and even Greek philosophers, left written records proving he was real? These aren't Christian sources. These are the voices of those who stood against him, and yet they couldn't erase him from history. If Jesus was fake, why do some of history's greatest skeptics, people who had no interest in promoting Christianity, confirm his existence? Get ready, because what you're about to see will leave no doubt. These skeptics, despite their doubts, found undeniable evidence. Their findings have shaped our understanding of history. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into these fascinating discoveries. Skeptics often argue that Jesus is just a legend, a religious invention. They say there's no proof outside of the Bible that he ever lived. But is that really true? Let's delve deeper. We'll explore historical records and evidence. Let's put that claim to the test. If Jesus never existed, why do non-Christian historians, people who had nothing to gain from Christianity, mention him? Why do Jewish and Roman authorities who wanted to silence his followers confirm his life and death? And why do these sources match the biblical account in ways that are impossible to ignore? These non-Christian sources provide compelling evidence that Jesus was a real historical figure. Flavius Josephus was a Jewish historian, not a Christian, who lived in the 1st century. In his book Antiquities of the Jews, he wrote about Jesus, saying, "Now there was about this time Jesus a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man, for he was a doer of wonderful works, a teacher of such men as received the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. He was the Christ, and when Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men amongst us, had condemned him to the cross, those that loved him at the first did not forsake him, for he appeared to them alive again the 3rd day, as the divine prophets had foretold these and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him. And the tribe of Christians, so named from him, are not extinct at this day." Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, Book 18, Chapter 3, Section 3. Josephus's account provides a non-Christian corroboration of Jesus' existence and his impact on history. Josephus confirms 3 things. Jesus was a real person, he performed miracles, and he was executed under Pontius Pilate. If Jesus was a myth, why would a Jewish historian record this? But Josephus wasn't the only historian who confirmed Jesus. Now let's look at a Roman who had no sympathy for Christians, Tacitus. Tacitus also mentioned Jesus in his annals, confirming his execution. Next, let's look at Tacitus, one of the greatest Roman historians. He had no love for Christians. In fact, he despised them. But even he admitted that Jesus was real. Writing about Emperor Nero's persecution of Christians, Tacitus says, "Consequently, to get rid of the report, Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations, called Christians by the populace. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilatus, and a most mischievous superstition, thus checked for the moment, again broke out not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but even in Rome, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world find their center and become popular." Tacitus Annals, Book 15, Chapter 44. This account by Tacitus is one of the earliest non-Christian references to Jesus, providing historical evidence of his existence. Again, a Roman historian, who had nothing to gain from Christianity, confirms Jesus' execution under Pilate. But Tacitus wasn't alone. Let's look at even more evidence from other sources. These sources, both Roman and Jewish, provide a compelling case for the historical existence of Jesus. Their accounts align with the biblical narrative. Suetonius, another Roman historian, also referenced Jesus and his followers. He wrote, "Since the Jews constantly made disturbances at the instigation of Christus, he expelled them from Rome." Suetonius, Lives of the Caesars, Claudius 25. This expulsion is one of the earliest non-Christian references to Jesus, highlighting the impact of his followers. Here, Suetonius speaks of Christus, mentioning the unrest caused by his teachings. This shows that even Roman authorities acknowledged Jesus' influence. Suetonius's writings provide a crucial non-Christian source confirming the historical presence of Jesus. Pliny the Younger, a Roman governor, wrote to Emperor Trajan about how to deal with Christians, stating, "They were accustomed to meet on a fixed day before dawn and sing a hymn to Christ as to a god, and to bind themselves by an oath." Pliny the Younger Letters, Book 10, Letter 96. This letter provides a glimpse into early Christian practices and Roman governance. Why would Roman officials concern themselves with a mythical figure? The reason is simple. Jesus was real, and his followers were rapidly growing. This rapid growth posed a potential threat to the established order, prompting Roman authorities to take notice and act. Even the Jewish Talmud mentions Jesus, though it tries to discredit him. It states, "On the eve of Passover, Yeshu, Jesus, was hanged. For 40 days before the execution, a herald went forth and cried, 'He is going to be stoned because he practiced sorcery and led Israel astray.'" Sanhedrin 43. A. This passage is one of the earliest non-Christian references to Jesus, providing historical context. Notice how even his enemies confirm his execution and miracles, often calling them sorcery. They couldn't deny him, they could only try to explain him away. Roman historians and ancient texts also provide evidence of his existence and impact. Even Jesus' enemies couldn't deny him. The Romans crucified him, the Jewish leaders rejected him, and the Greek philosophers dismissed him, but they all admitted he was real. And today, 2,000 years later, his name still shakes the world. His impact is undeniable, transcending time and culture.
Breaking news.
If Jesus was a myth, why do these historical records exist? If he never lived, why did the greatest empires in history, Rome, Greece, and the Jewish authorities, feel the need to respond to him? These records and artifacts suggest that Jesus was a significant figure, prompting responses from powerful civilizations. "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away." Matthew 24:35. Even history itself cannot erase Jesus. His presence is eternal, transcending time and space, leaving an indelible mark on humanity. Are you willing to investigate the evidence for yourself, or will you dismiss it without a second thought? Take the time to explore the historical proofs and make an informed decision. The truth is out there, waiting for those who seek it with an open mind. Your faith isn't a myth, it's built on undeniable historical truth. From ancient manuscripts to archaeological finds, the evidence is overwhelming. These historical proofs confirm the reality of Jesus and his impact on history. If even Jesus' enemies couldn't deny him, will you? The evidence is overwhelming. Scholars and historians agree on his existence. What will you decide?